Good evening, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Live Reality Games Does a Recap, and we are recapping the real episode 12 of Surviving Maine. If you saw mine earlier, it was titled wrong. And guys, if you have not watched this, you need to go right now because I'm going to say this. I think this is in the top, this is going to irritate some people, top 3 episodes of the year so far of all live reality games. It is, I'm still shaking. It's literally that good. And all of those people out there that sometimes say, oh, Survivor being filmed in a backyard. Nope. If you get the right players that play with heart, you get the right editor that edits the right way, and you have a hostess with the mostest, you have a season. And this season is fire, folks.
Mm-hmm.
It is
Yes.
Oh, Taylor, it is so good. So please stop watching this right now. Go watch that episode. It's under an hour. Come watch us afterwards because it's that good. And I do not want to spoil the end result, and I'm about to in just a second. but first, let me, just to give some time for those of you, there's going to be spoilers, episode 12 here. I do want to do another shout out really quick to our good friends that are doing Survivor Trivia. Reem Daly is going to be with George Nicolaitis and Jordan Kalish this Friday, April 30th, 8 p.m. It costs $15, and you're going to play Survivor Trivia. I was there last month with Sari Fields. It was crazy. It was so much fun. There are incredibly smart people, and there are incredibly average people like me that play the game. If you win, you'll win prizes, so you'll take home some money, it looks like. If you're me, you just have a great experience, and you get to ask a survivor a question about their experience or their life. It's super cool. And everybody remembers the matron of the Edge of Extinction, Reem Daly. Dude.
Whatever, man. I don't even know her, man. Dude.
Reem, if you just come on our show, dude, like seriously, we'll give you an idol so you can't go to the Edge. You can just stay on the main island. Just hang out with us. It'll be a blast. Okay, so check that out. You can hit George Nicolaitis at Venmo if you want to play. Make sure you add your email address so they can add you to the Zoom call at 8 p.m. on Friday. Hope you guys take that opportunity. Okay, so let's get to what we're here to talk about. Episode 12. Taylor,
What an episode.
What an episode.
My favorite.
What was I was so busy I didn't write down the title. What was the title of it?
A Game Changer is the title.
Ooh, a game changer. There's some other good quotes in here. I liked charming as fuck. That was one of my favorites. What about this spoils a little bit, folks, so this is going to be your first. I'm about to get Kimmy Kappenberg out of this game.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's one of my favorites. There was one other that I found. Oh, this one. This is a Cameron quote. We had a good night last night.
Dot.
That's always Survivor in a nutshell because it's always a good night last night. Okay. So without further ado, the person that was essentially Kimmy Kappenberg out of this game with us is the inspiring Becca!
Hi, guys!
Hey!
Oh, boy. What an episode.
What are your feelings after reliving it right now?
Oh, my goodness. It was just so intense in the moment and so much fun to watch. I was really nasty. I can't believe how nasty I was. But that's besides the point. I just love Brandon's dedication to the very end, even despite how nasty I was. And I obviously can't be mad at him for voting for me because what would anyone else do in that situation? So
I don't know.
Sorry, I was just going to say, looking back, I will say I definitely did call it early on. We should have voted for Brandon because of how the idol was played. So
I know, in that conversation.
Mm-hmm. I'm like, I should have pushed harder for that because,
at
but
least
I didn't.
split. Yep.
yeah, something, but
I can't wait to get to that moment, because that breaking down, you're going to have to, both the two of you are going to have to re-explain literally the last 30 minutes of this whole thing, because things are shifting, tides are turning. It's really incredible, folks. So we start this episode after a split vote had occurred last episode, and there's always going to be some ruffled feathers after that occurs. That's why survivors tend not to do this. And Becca, to your defense, I did not think you came across as a nasty player or somebody who was being nasty. I thought you came across as somebody who wanted to know the truth about what had occurred. And I think you used any measure to find out that truth. And I think you did. And that's A+ for you. So what happens essentially is that Becky and Becca were out of the loop. And there's, it's funny, Brandon, that you mentioned in the last recap, you said misinterpretations. I think I understand what you were talking about now. Was the name Jazz or was it Jess? And for all the viewers at home, if you think about when you're whispering these names, the vote's Jazz. They sound, it's literally a vowel sound. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, misinterpretation much.
But I wonder, even if I had understood, say I was in the circle when that was all going on, would I have been yeah, sure, Jess, and still voted Jazzy?
Because you had that plan, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
one of my favorite editing things, Taylor, is right after this happens, it says Becca's name and under it says pissed.
I love that.
Me too. I was like,
she had me pegged.
But that confessional was so funny, because it's just someone's like, okay, can we do a confessional, Becca? And you just say that one thing, and then you're like, I'm leaving now. And that's all I have to say. And you storm off.
I was so personally offended by everything that happened. I was like, we had a plan, and I definitely got blindsided. And I think it's hilarious how the whole time I was like, you know what, if it was me, I would have been fine with it. That's the kind of blindside I probably would have been okay with, but not what happened.
Absolutely. It's funny. I wrote Becca pissed. I like this side of her is literally what I wrote down, because you were I think it lit a fire under you that we hadn't seen all season. And I do think had part of this Becca been out earlier, you kind of talk about this in your afterwards. This Becca probably would have been more prone to maybe making some other moves that were in your best interest, I think. Something, and the reason I say this, Becca, is because whenever I've played Survivor, I never really play Survivor until somebody makes me mad. And I know that sounds weird, but I'm kind of coasting. I'm like, do I want to play this game? Do I want to? And then something happens where I'm irritated, and then I'm like, oh, I don't want you to win anymore.
Right.
And I don't know. For me, that's what lights the fire under me. It has to be somebody irks me somehow. And I felt like, I saw that in you. And we were so, guys at home, we were so close. This was the craziest vote ever. Let's go back really quick. So it's a great challenge we have. Also a great opening shot, Taylor, with the fog and the drone shot above everything. Lovely sequence at the start.
Very nice, yeah.
We have a standard immunity challenge twisted up only in a surviving Maine way that they could do, where we have, usually it's a series of symbols that the players have to memorize and show. And here we have a series of symbols and colors. And the twist is the color is the outside of the silhouette of the symbol. And so Liza can call out colors and symbols. So a person like me who is not totally colorblind, but I have some partial color blindness, I'm like, blue, is that green or is that gray? I can't tell. So for me, it would have been a lot more difficult. And I found that this adding of color to the normal challenge of symbols really added a whole new layer of challenge to it. Becca, you were pretty close to the end there. You got
You know, and I have to say, I was actually really proud of myself for how well I did with that, because memory is not my strong suit. And I came up with like a little strategy that I was just like, wow, this is actually working out really well for me. So I think at the end, I think I probably knew the correct thing, but looking at it, I think I shifted the wrong way. I thought I was holding it someplace else, but who knows?
So in that challenge, Tony went out first, then Becky, then Cameron. Next was you, and then we had Jazzy and Brandon. And right there, they did a really nice, good sportsmanship thing when they both got to that next level, where they kind of like, "Hey, good job, buddy. Good job, buddy." But to me, at final 6, I'd be like, you're real friendly in a challenge right now. That makes me suspicious. Again, Brandon, for some reason, I'm always suspicious of you. You're playing a great game, but there's something going on. Jazzy wins, and we all know at home she has an idol, so she is guaranteed a spot in the final 4 of this season.
Or is she?
Thank you. Because lo and behold, we are about to see some strategies and decisions go down that nobody would expect would happen. In fact, I think Tony said it, right, Becca? Wasn't Tony like she's got the idol. She's never going to play that on anybody.
Yeah, they were all like, Becky was like, that would be stupid. Who would do that?
Mm-hmm. That's not what happened.
No, I don't know if you can read my writing. I literally have Jazzy safe at 2 TCs, like giant, circled. Let's put it this way, folks. That is not what's going to happen in this episode. So let's talk about this. I wish there was just a watcher with me right now. So if you're in the comments later on, leave this, because if you have an idol, okay, I just don't know. Okay, so you are immune at final 6 for all our Survivor lovers, and the idols go to 5, and you have an idol, and you have the decision whether to save somebody with it at 6 or to keep it for yourself and use for yourself at 5. What do you do? I mean, I have to admit, I don't think I would have done what Jazzy did. I don't think I think in the game of Survivor, I'm like, at that point, I think I'm too selfish.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know.
Yeah, I didn't get the opportunity, but I don't think I would have either.
Yeah.
But if you're Jazzy, right? Think of it, if you're Jazzy, you know you have a huge target on your back, right? You just want immunity. You want to make sure that you can get past Final 4. Final 4 is one thing. Final 3 is the real goal. Because if she's in Final 3, everyone thinks she will win, right? The whole jury is saying Jazzy's going to win. She deserves to win. So if I'm Jazzy and I want to hold on to my alliances, why not build some extra trust, play an idol for my number 1, who is Cameron, and everyone else thinks it's Brandon, but Cam was the one who was there when she found the idol, when she found the clue. She shared it with him. She didn't have to. She built that trust with him day 1. That was like hour 2 of being there that happened. So I can, I'm just making like a devil's advocate. If it were me, no, hell no, I'm not playing an idol on Cam. He's a huge threat too. What? But if I'm Jazzy, I can make this make sense. I can rationalize this from her standpoint.
Oh, absolutely. She needs threats around. She's being identified in the top level, so she has to play the meat shield strategy, as Jeremy Collins would do it, to keep other people around that could be potential targets. It makes total sense. The misinterpretations, though, are pretty stellar. Brandon consistently thinking that you, Becca, were at this conversation that you were not at. That really sold a lot of his social capital in this episode, and we see it literally running, just going. Mm-hmm. And I still think, Brandon, you have a chance, but oh my gosh, that was a mess. And what's your take of that? People make mistakes. Memory is never perfect, especially in the game of Survivor. It's never perfect. But when you're I was in the bathroom, I was doing a confessional, I was not there, don't implicate me in this. How do you take, what's that like?
It was really hard with Brandon. Jazzy and Cameron, I was fine with, but with Brandon, I thought, okay, we have that plan, and so it was really nice watching it back to see that though Cameron and Jazzy like definitely were there with Brandon. Brandon seemed to genuinely not know that I was there. He thought I was, and for him, it was like an honest misunderstanding. Which is unfortunate for him because I was the most bitter toward him about it. But yeah.
I was talking to Cam about this too, because he was worried that he was going to look like a jerk, but he didn't realize he wasn't actually in on this plan that you had. That
Right.
you were all going to vote for Jazzy. He wasn't in on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's an interesting take you have on Tony that the rest of the cast does not necessarily perceive, Becca, and it's been growing on me as well. We see the foil to this with Becky's face to the camera, which was a great edit, Taylor, which she's like, what? And so
I laughed so hard. Oh my God.
Oh, it's funny.
It was funny.
Survivors, whenever you get a chance to do a mug to the camera, please do. We don't get it often, and the other players usually know you're looking at the camera for a reason. But it's interesting, Becca. I want you to kind of expound where you were at Final Six and thinking about Tony's game, because I'm kind of at the same place. I talked about it with Taylor in the last, just about earlier, and talking about how he's coming across as lovable, and also when he knows the game. He's just not talking about the game. I want you to talk a little bit more about that.
Right. And that's exactly what I was seeing. Like Tony, we all talk about how he just slept a lot. He was really quiet, didn't say a lot. But I felt like whenever Liza or anybody asked him a question, he had an answer. Like he knew what was going on. And I knew, to me, I thought Tony would be a good alliance. So there were several times where I tried to talk to him and he was like, he had a plan, he was going with it. And I tried to sway him and he was pretty loyal to the people who he felt were going to be loyal to him. And I could tell there wasn't really a lot that I could do about it. And then also, so I knew that he was playing. I just didn't know. I just didn't see it. So I didn't really understand the level. And I knew he was going to do confessionals and this and that. So in my head, he looks like he's playing a low-key game. He gets to Final 3, and then he's fighting for his life. And now he's pulling out like all of these cards that he's been playing that I was not privy to, even though I tried to be. So, yeah.
That's super interesting because in the conversation, it's kind of later on, and I want to dig into a couple other moments, but he breaks down numbers so quick. The second you bring it up, he's just like, lovable Tony, talk about my kid. Like, I don't know what this isn't how you sound, Tony, at all. But just like, I'm not really playing the game too much. But then you talk about numbers, he's like, oh, that would be a tie. That'd be a split. So then I'd be here, here, here. And it's like, wait. You've been paying attention this whole time, dude. You know exactly where you sit in this alliance. So I think you might be right, Becca, in the sense that maybe he's starting to understand he's more perceived as somebody that many people want to take towards the end. And he's just going to go with sheer numbers. Like, how many people want to take me to 4? How many people want to take me to 3? Let me hide in that. All these different little onions, can I hide in all of them till I'm at 3 and I just have to win one challenge? Because lo and behold, Tony can win challenges. He can get to Final 2, Final 3 of immunity challenges. So if he's there, can Tony win Final Immunity? I think he has as good a shot as Jazzy or Cam, in my opinion. So, okay, you guys are muted. You're like, I don't want to say nothing. Getting too close.
Not giving anything away here.
Yeah. Hell yeah, Becca. I was all about #underdog alliance.
It would have been beautiful. Although we wouldn't have stood a chance against Becky if it was, let's face it. She hung in there she beat out the rest of the Skitters against a Lombard member. So,
you know, I don't know.
For her.
I don't know. Me and Becky were talking about that too. Actually, she's here if you want to say hi at some point. But we were talking about it and we were like, well, that would have, like, Tony could have sold that as his move. Maybe Tony wins in the end because there's more Lombards than Skitters in the jury, you know?
That's true too. Yep. Yeah, hard telling.
You would all have a really good chance, honestly, the three of you against each other.
Yeah, it would have been a nice final three, I think.
Yeah.
I think so too. That would have been really fun to watch and see how it would all play out. One of the things that I can't remember if you said this, Becca, in the conversation, but you were talking about, this was kind of when the fire was being lit, and I liked the fire in you in regards to Survivor. And you mentioned, we need to go get Tony. We have to make this move. We have to talk to him. And you're correct. That was absolutely the move to make. And I think a comment that was made was something like, but I'm afraid Jazzy will just walk up into the conversation. Like there was this fear that Jazzy will just like, no holds bar. What is that about Jazzy that she can just do that? She just walks into a conversation.
You know, it's funny. I can't even say for sure if that was like a thing that she was necessarily doing, but I had this perception of her. And that's why I kind of like stuck with her the whole way, because I was just so afraid that she was going to get me out, basically. And I knew that she was feeling really paranoid and she didn't want to be kicked out. So I just felt like if she saw any other alliances or sway to the plan, that she was going to try to nip it in the bud right then and there. But we had our moment.
I think Jazzy just oozes confidence, and it's really intimidating. Like when she's saying like Becca's mad at me, she's the one who voted for me, and then she says, and I don't blame her. Like she's not mad because she doesn't blame me for voting for her. She's just a confident, smart player who like knows she's hot shit and she's right.
Yep.
So yeah, it's scary.
It is. And I just lacked, obviously, my confidence in gameplay and strategy. And I was just so fearful to make a move, in fear that the people who were at the top of the alliance were going to find out about it and find out that I betrayed the alliance that I wasn't even really in and kick me out. So yeah, it was interesting that it took me so long, but you're definitely right, Kirk. It was the emotions that really drove, I did start that morning, which I talked about with Brandon. But the real passion definitely came with the emotion.
Absolutely. And it kind of changes your gameplay in Survivor, because Survivor's based on your personality. So when those things happen where you shift, because we're different colors of ourselves in different places, like at work, at home, in Survivor. Right. And I liked that color of you in the game. And I think if you play again, I hope that something triggers that a little bit earlier, to be honest, because I think there's so much potential. And there's another thing to say about Jazzy. I think it's funny still. I'll say this again. Jazzy, in your opening, you were like, I hope people don't perceive me as a strong woman.
Fail.
And also, that is, the perception of, I'm afraid Jazzy will just walk into the conversation, is the perception all players should come into Survivor with. You should not be afraid to walk into any conversation. That's the game. And it will be intimidating. It will be intimidating to walk into a group of 6 people and you're one. But once you break that circle, it's a circle of 7, and you're listening in on that conversation. And you're going to walk out of that game, whether you got voted out that round, a more confident person, in my opinion. You're going to be a stronger person just by doing that one thing, because it takes us back to the sandbox. It takes us back to playing as kids, right? Like, there's this group. Can I approach this group and talk to them? Yeah, you can. In Survivor, you should.
And I just one more time, just to reiterate that fire that grew under Becca from being so mad, she stops playing like Becca right there and starts playing like Jazzy. And she says, we should just boldly go up to him. That's my favorite moment from that conversation. Boldly go up to him. Like, yes, you should. Yes.
Absolutely.
That was me talking myself like.
It's like, we can do this. And you guys effectively did it. You effectively laid out that plan. And we're going to get into that, guys. But I want to backpedal a second, because I didn't get into this at the start of the episode, Becca. I'm curious about your journey to get cast on Surviving Maine. How did that go about? How did you get a part as a contestant on this series?
So a coworker of mine at the time she knew that I was a big Survivor fan and that I was actively trying to get on the CBS Survivor show. She's like, oh my God, you would love this. And she actually had watched season 1 of Surviving Maine. I don't know if she was there for the whole weekend or part of it. And so she's like, they're going to do another one. And when I hear word of it, I'll send it your way. So lo and behold, she sends it my way and I apply and I send in my video and that's it in a nutshell.
That's so cool. I hope you're still auditioning for CBS. I'm sure you shouldn't talk about that, but I hope you are.
Oh, yes. I definitely, I can say that I'm not in the moment. Hopefully maybe I can talk to a really great editor that I know who might help me make a fun video.
Dude, you know what? I'm going to offer every single person, I'll make like a 1.5 minute reel of like your best Surviving Maine moves for everybody. And then you fill in the other 1.5 minutes with like talking about why you should be on. I'll do that. Anybody who wants to take me up on it, I'll do it, but not till June because I'm fucking busy editing your fucking season right now.
So much work. I would love that if you would do that for sure.
Oh, that's incredible. How cool to do that. So look, a bonus. Everybody's a winner at Surviving Maine. Yeah. You can get a highlight reel thanks to the best editor in the business.
Yes, for sure.
For sure. There's so much that goes on at this point. I think we can start to really get into the strategies. Because right after this, my notes go into tribal, and tribal is literally forever and a day long.
The tribal is as long as the rest of the episode. It's like it's like a half of the episode. It's great.
So Becca, do you want to explain what your move was with Becky and Tony and what you guys were trying to effectively, what was the outcome you wanted?
Well, the outcome, obviously, the plan was to go in and vote Jazzy and get her out. And then I think from there, probably, I imagine we would have gone after Cameron. And then from there, it's hard to say what would have happened from there. I have a feeling Becky and I would have stayed tight to the end and would it have been Brandon or Tony, I don't know. But yeah, the plan in that moment was obviously for Jazzy to go and Tony, I guess. Yeah.
So I have a question for you. Like this relationship with Becky in the game, was this percolating over episodes, or did this really come out of the last vote? Did it really just come together because you were left out of the loop?
I would say like we had a good relationship ever since that we were on the same tribe together. I think she was fantastic to get along with. And it was really funny because I don't remember what episode it was. I just remember I was so exhausted during that confessional and I was like, oh, and Becky. And I was like, oh my God, what bad thing would I possibly have to say about Becky? I looked so irritated. I'm like, she's just so likable. And it was just really funny to me. So I think, we had started planning. I obviously wanted to work with her more. I think, giving her Toby's name and just really trying to do all of that. But I definitely think like us really coming together and solidifying that alliance happened when we were both kind of blindsided at that tribal council. So I think that's when it really got going. But I think we were talking prior to that, which is why when the merge first happened, she was kind of back over with Skitter, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go talk to her and Emily and Toby and Justin, and I walked right up and I said hello, and that was my way of breaking the ice with them because I knew I needed to do that. And I was very paranoid that Lombard was going to see me and that was going to put a target on my back. But that was my first attempt, I think, to try to do a move. But none of the Skitter were receptive to it in that moment. And I felt very awkward. They were just like, hi. And then I turned and walked away. And I think in that moment I was a little offended by Becky, just because I was like, oh, I thought we kind of bonded. Maybe you were like, she's cool, you know, kind of thing. But I understand too, she was just trying to like save her hide with Skitter and everything. And
yeah, let's take it back. We're talking about the Skitter tribe. I always forget exactly the merge, who's on which tribe, but yeah, so this relationship is established here. And let's look at this, guys. Look at the 5 here. How close is it shifted where Tony's eliminated and this is the final 5? It's the new Skitter tribe. So in some ways, kudos to that too.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
That's crazy. So everybody's trying to find their new place after this split vote, and tribal council is crazy. I literally don't even know what to talk about at first. It's like there's essentially multiple votes here. The first round, it breaks down to, let's see if I got this right. The votes are for Becky and Cam. Jazzy plays an idol for Cam correctly, even though I swore she was going to play it for Brandon. I really, really thought she would. And then Becky, Becky plays the idol on herself. That's correct. I was confused on my notes. It says Becky plays idol for Becky. Oh yeah, duh, that's what it usually happens. All right, so both of them play their idols correctly. I'm shocked at this even because I know there's not a lot of potentials, but there's 0-0 votes, which then means, like in that other, what season was that? Game Changers?
I think so. Yeah.
I can't remember exactly, but it goes to 0-0. Then we go to what do you call it? Is it a revote or it's an extra vote? I don't even know what you call this round.
Second chances. That's the season, right?
Second
chances.
Second chances. It's basically a second vote because it's at 0-0 for those that haven't ever seen this occur before. Tony's kind of proud. He goes to vote and he goes, I flushed the idols. So interestingly enough, Becca is correct. Tony, I will say this. Can Tony articulate it in front of a group of people? I don't know yet. I think that has yet to be shown if he can articulate his game well enough to get the votes, because we see him say it in small groups. We see him say it in confessionals. In a larger group setting, sometimes that's a different scenario for people. The pressure can be on, especially at a final tribal. The pressure is always on. So we go to a revote, and this is crazy because you guys are talking it through, and Brandon realizes, everybody realizes Brandon potentially could go home if it ties twice in a row here. So Becca, you're one of the 3. It's Tony, Becca, Brandon that aren't safe. What is your strategy? You get to whispering. There's a whole lot of whispering. What exactly went down?
What went down is that I could not convince anybody else to vote for Tony outside of Becky and Brandon. Like nobody else really wanted to sway that. So
that makes sense. So they
were just so committed to their alliance that they had, and I just don't think
before it comes down to you versus Tony.
Oh, sorry,
there is some.
No,
it's but there is some talking, and I just strategize everything to death after I'm editing these things with Becky. I'm like, okay, but what if you guys had gone to Tony and you just whisper to Tony, we're voting Brandon, but then you still vote Tony. He's gonna vote Brandon because
okay.
Why didn't Tony? Yeah, well, I think Tony was playing for real. He didn't. He wanted Becky to play that idol. I got totally distracted by Justin. I think Tony was being strategic there, that he wanted that as his move, but he didn't want Cameron to go. Tony should have voted Brandon. If he was really thinking it through, Brandon goes. But on this second vote, before you say anything more, Kirk, on this second vote, if they had just said to Tony, vote Brandon. He wants to break up Jazzy and Brandon. He keeps saying it over and over again. And they know that he just said that. So if they had just lied, we're voting Brandon, then vote Tony.
That's a good idea.
Brandon's voting with them. I mean, everything's so easy in hindsight, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that anyway.
That is a good idea. If he would have done it, that would have been great.
That's a really good idea because then it makes the vote 3-2-1. Am I correct?
Exactly. It's the Suri 3-2-1. That's what I kept saying to Becky.
Yep.
Oh, it's just you're so tired out there, you know.
I know.
And to think on your feet like that, oh jeez. Didn't happen, did it?
So true. Hindsight is 20/20 in these games. It's easier. Yeah, my position's easy. I can watch the edited version. I can think about it. I can write notes. But when I'm playing it, it's messy. It's sloppy. It doesn't make sense. It's like you said. You're hungry. You're tired. You're irritated or pissed, as it says. And you're trying to make a logical decision in all of these circumstances. But it's interesting because I don't think I caught that totally, Taylor. Because what we see in the last episode is a core of 4 get created out of 7, which is Tony, Cameron, Jazzy, and Brandon, or what we think is maybe a core 4, because that's what happens. But no, it just seems like it's a voting block, because here at 6, Brandon wants to make a move. Tony's playing the middle. All sorts of Tony wants to make a move, but not really make people mad. You know, he wants idols flushed, but I want you happy with me. Oh, Brandon, I can't wait to talk to you then. I'm so stoked.
Yes.
Whenever that happens, you know, it's the coulda, woulda, shouldas are so interesting. So basically, you know, Brandon tried to make a move. Tony tried to make a move. Everybody's trying to make a move here, and which results in perfect gameplay, 0-0 votes. I mean, it's astounding. Even if you just hearing it, you have to go watch it, folks. So then, you know, it's a tie vote again, Tony and Becca. And this is the part I was surprised. Brandon, don't get mad at me. I was surprised nobody wanted to vote Brandon in the initial, the second vote, not the first. It's so confusing. The second vote when it was Tony, Becca, Brandon.
Exactly.
Was he not on anybody's radar for that vote, for that quick?
If you watch it like 20 million times like I had to, you see Jazzy saying to Cam, "Are you sure you don't want to vote Brandon? He just flipped on us." And Cam pats him on the back and says, "I forgive you, Brandon. Let's vote out Becca."
Yeah.
I don't know what they're thinking.
Yeah,
because
I know.
Brandon's a bigger threat than no offense at all, Becca.
No, none taken. It's true.
Like, isn't he though? Isn't he a bigger threat? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. He had a personality. He was playing the game. He was a physical threat. He checked all the boxes.
Yeah.
I didn't think of him as an option then because he was a number.
Yeah.
Right. So I wasn't going to travel down that road because that wouldn't work that well. But for them, yeah. They definitely were not like, they were ready for me to go. And by they, I mean, you know, Jazzy and Cameron and
it was your saltiness for sure that turned off Cam because he wanted to go to the end with you. He had said him multiple times, and then he was like, "Well, there's just no path forward with Becca."
Yeah.
Because you were mad at him.
Well, and the thing of that is too, it's funny because he actually was probably early on my strongest alliance, I would say, because he gave me information, and you know, he was always very nice out there and personable. But I always never quite trusted him because I knew that he was just playing a really hard game. He was thinking like very far ahead. And I knew that there was a big chance that he was probably playing me the whole time. So it was really interesting to see, like, he was planning, at least, like you said, up until then, to take me final 3. I think it's probably maybe, you know, as a coattail rider, not because, you know, not, but that's okay. I guess, you know, he was going to be loyal to me.
Yeah. I mean, he just knew you hadn't made huge moves. So
right. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And Cameron plays a game that's a game that's very successful in Survivor, where he's a very he comes across, at least in most of the edit, except for the one night where he was hungry and tired. He's usually super positive. He seems super like like charming, like he was. Who said
Charming as fuck, right?
Charming as fuck, yeah. There was that one night, and I think anybody can always dismiss one moment if that's the whole breadth of your experience out there. But that's also a huge threat because people want to play with those personalities that make you feel good when you're miserable. Like, it's easy to keep it around. So then something interesting with Cameron was the exposing of where he perceives Brandon, or how Brandon perceives it at Tribal, which I was literally living for. Like, I could have watched so much of that. Brandon says, essentially, I'm not going any further than 4, and says it out loud at Tribal. So you're in front of the jury saying that out loud. Like, this is like crazy to me. Like, I'm just like, whoa, like big, crazy moves. And, Cam's really trying to reassure him, but at the same time, Cam's in the luxury position where he's sitting behind Brandon, and you can kind of like know that they can't really see you as much. And I don't know.
He's like smarmy there with his idol around his neck, and he's like, I promised you Final 4.
It's Brandon.
4.
I can understand that too. Like, it's so incredible. Brandon, another just takeaway moment. Brandon at the vote, slinking to the floor in the voting booth.
He did that twice. He did it twice, and he's like, wait, was I in the shot? And he does it again. He was in the shot both times. I thought it was so funny. Sorry, Brandon, that I outed you.
That's good. That knows you're playing for the viewers. I like that.
I felt so bad for how bad he felt.
Yeah, he really did.
And I'm just thinking, like, at that point, Brandon, no hard feelings, right? What was he going to do if he didn't vote for me? Go home.
Go home.
Right. That would have just been a nice sacrifice, but I don't think it would have been a good one.
So yes, the end result is Brandon flips again, and therefore
keep doing that.
Oh, it's fine. They know. They all know. And Becca's eliminated officially on a 3-1 vote. I think we would call this,
right,
with a lot of asterisks next to it. Becca.
Oh, she has the votes.
Yep, I've got all the three tribals worth of votes, or 3 rounds rather.
I love it. That's so cool.
Yep.
I always think that's a really cool thing that you guys do for Surviving Maine. I always think you should give the players their votes. They can do with them what they want.
Yeah,
Burn them.
Frame them.
This is when I lost. 99% of us were losers, but this was my loss. So Becca, if you were to play again, I think we've kind of touched on this, but what would you do differently?
I would go in with so much more confidence, just in my ability to play the game and to strategize and just go in and play and not worried about getting voted out, because the alternative is getting voted out. So I'm either going to go in and play hard and get voted out first, or go in and play hard and make it to the end. I think that seems to be, how it goes. So
absolutely.
Good plan. Good plan.
That's an excellent plan. So when you did this, you were a substitute teacher. Are you still teaching?
Yes, I'm still a substitute teacher. Yep.
Oh, fantastic.
Yep.
That's awesome. Me too, still teaching through COVID. I hope someday you get a long-term gig. That would be awesome.
Yeah, maybe someday.
So we have another week, and we will be at the final 5. Becca is now joining the jury, and you are the 5th member of the jury. So we're at the point where the jurors are going to start to outnumber the players, and they will start to become very intimidating. I'm excited, Becca, to see the qualities you're going to look for in a person that you want to crown the winner. You don't have to say anything. Just leave it nebulous for now. I like to keep guessing. Taylor, I don't know if there's anything you can give us for next week. Is there any little tidbit? I think we have a title out there of the episode.
There is. What is it? Oh my gosh.
I don't remember. I saw it.
Oh no. I always have a list of possible titles That's what I'll give you. I definitely remember one of the titles that I did not choose, and that's what I'll give you. It was I'm gonna give you two. One was Bang Bang Pop Pop. The other was A Tribe of 10 Tonys.
Oh.
Those are not the titles.
Whoa. And with that, friends, we're going to leave you after an awesome night. Thanks, Taylor, for being with me for both of these. And Becca, thanks so much for joining us and letting us get to know you. And I hope that you're in the comments in the future. I want to see what you're thinking about all these players as they get voted out. And we will be with you guys next week, right after the episode, with the next voted out contestant. Can't wait to see you guys.
Yay.